Shane got at us and says he thinks we're just a little bit too high on the Ducks. Take a listen.
Hey, JD. It's Shane from Panama City, Florida. Just taking a look here at your CFP bracket, I want to say I think you're way, way too high on Oregon. Between the loss of Dylan Gabriel and Evan Stewart going down due to injury, I do not see the Ducks being as high as the 5 seed, especially over Penn State. Thanks.
So maybe so. Might be right. But here's why I think we're right. The names you just mentioned are totally, totally fair to bring up. Evan Stewart not being available as much as you would like him to be. I mean, you hope he gets back this year. I haven't seen anything on a definitive timetable there. Going to miss some time. Dylan Gabriel was awesome last year. Heisman finalist. He's gone to the NFL. Make no mistake. This is a less proven Oregon football team. I do not believe this is a less talented Oregon football team. That's not me saying anything of what you lost, but you look at how Dan Lanning has recruited, how they've attacked via the portal, what Marshall Malco, essentially Oregon's GM out there, has done with Dan Lanning and how they've built that roster. Less production back, for sure. Less names you know, for sure. They're going to be a wagon this year. Mark my words. They are still, I believe, if not the most talented, I think they are probably the second most talented team in the Big Ten. Now, do you play to your potential? That's the big question here, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't put it together, then, we're just having a conversation about making the Las Vegas Bowl. And Las Vegas is nice in December, but still, I wouldn't want to be there if I'm aspiring to make the college football playoff. I love the way the schedule shapes up, because what I just said, unproven, still some guys that got to totally find their footing and get their feet all the way wet, but it ramps up pretty well for Oregon, especially for a first-year starter in Dante Moore and Eugene. Montana State, Oklahoma State, at Northwestern, and then Oregon State. 3 of those first 4 games are at home. Your game on the road is at Northwestern, which, not to knock the good folks out there, I believe it's Evanston, Illinois. Doesn't really intimidate you all that much, where it shouldn't. And then your big test is at Penn State shortly thereafter. Like, through those first 4 games, you should have some time to figure out who you are and to get comfortable. You're not opening up and playing a blockbuster game where you got to go play Texas or you got to go play an LSU or a Clemson. Like, you have some time to kind of tinker with this thing and get it right, which was a big deal for Oregon a year ago when Dylan Gabriel was getting his feet wet. And he wasn't even there for the year before like Dante Moore was. Like, Dante Moore has more runway than Dylan Gabriel does and has a more favorable schedule than Dylan Gabriel had when he was a starting quarterback at Oregon a year ago, and it worked out okay. So when you look at that part of it, plus the fact there's no Ohio State, no Michigan, USC could be tricky, but you get them in Eugene. Toughest tests I see on the schedule outside of USC, at Penn State, at Iowa. I mean, if you get one of those, Oregon's going to be in position to potentially play for the Big Ten championship. I told you I think they beat Penn State as we sit here right now in the month of July. I think Penn State actually also drops to Ohio State. So Penn State sitting there at 10-2, Oregon at 11-1. Hey, we're out here, baby. We're in the Big Ten title game. And with them having the head-to-head over Penn State, that's why I have them ahead of Penn State, obviously, in the college football playoff rankings. But I do think a lot of this does come down to what do you get from Dante Moore. Like, if you're out on Oregon, you're probably out on Dante Moore. And that's your own prerogative. But for me, I think that Oregon, talent-wise alone, will be better than just about every single team they have on their schedule talent-wise, maybe outside of Penn State. Any game where it's maybe equal, I think you have a guy in Dante Moore who can make the difference for you. Like, if it comes down to a quarterback duel in the game against Penn State or the game against USC, I think I might lean Dante Moore in that spot. Now, Drew Aller, I think, is the best quarterback in the Big Ten from a proven commodity perspective, but if you're asking Dante Moore to go make some throws against him, I think he can do that. I think at the very least, you're not at a talent disadvantage, I should say, at the quarterback position when you go to Penn State. That's just how I feel about it. Now, one more thing I want to make sure we mention. Another reason why I'm high on Oregon, kind of the unquantifiables, if you will. Like, every year at Oregon, I think the culture just gets more sharp. I think it gets more embedded into what that football team is. And it's fun to talk about culture, and I think culture is maybe an easy thing to get lazy about in our industry because you don't really have to prove anything when you speak to culture. You don't have to reference stats or reference game tape. But remember Oregon last year, they beat Ohio State. It was, one of the games of the year. It was, I'm sure, emotionally taxing. It was the biggest win of Dan Lanning's career to that point. And all of us were kind of like, okay, when is that letdown game going to happen for the Ducks? It's out there somewhere. When's it going to happen? Purdue on a Friday night? Nope. That was the next game? Nope. No worries there. They kept reeling off wins after that. And you saw a game where they looked a little bit sluggish against Wisconsin, still found a way. Like, I think that being the year 3 culture, I can't wait to see what the year 4 culture is for Dan Lanning. Because I think that part of what he is as a head coach doesn't get talked about enough, and it makes a big difference. Like, the teams that play the best, yeah, they're the most talented, but I think they also have the best culture to go with that talent. And I think Oregon's one of those teams. So if we're high on Oregon, so be it. But I have a lot of confidence in Dan Lanning's way of doing things, in his culture, and the way they built that roster. And I think they will be right back in the Big Ten title game playing for the conference here in 2025, which will then put them in the college football playoff. I have them right now as a 5 seed, but let me know your thoughts. 629-888-3931.